October 27, 1838, Missouri Governor Lilburn Boggs issued the infamous extermination order which sought to drive from the state of Missouri members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This extermination order was not formally rescinded until June 25, 1976 by Missouri Governor Kit Bond. But on March 7, 2024, at an event organized by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Missouri Governor Michael Parsons signed a proclamation declaring March 7, 2024 as Missouri Religious Freedom Proclamation Day. What we will do in the next few minutes is have a brief discussion with the leaders who worked behind the scenes to help make this historic event possible. Let's see what they have to say.
I would say to a non-religious citizen why today's event is important to them is because religious freedom is important for everyone, not just those who may believe in a deity or to someone who believes in a God. It's for everyone who has beliefs in anything, because it's the right to express whatever you believe in any way, shape, or form. The Missouri government advisor meeting that's held each month is a coordination meeting between the three coordinating councils, the St. Louis Coordinating Council, the Missouri Southwest Coordinating Council, and the Kansas City Coordinating Council, where we get together and we meet for an hour and discuss the events that are going on between the various coordinating councils, and then planning for events like today, where the stake leaders are here all together for a day at the Capitol, as well as what's happening across the state of Missouri and how we can connect and interact with state officials, local officials, and to coordinate activities to build bridges of trust and to work with our state officials and local officials. I was just happy to see at today's events a lot of individuals, that there was a lot of diversity. There were a lot of individuals from different faiths, from different ages, just a broad range of people from all walks of life. So a Latter-day Saints perspective of today's events compared to others that may not be from Latter-day Saints faith, I think the perspective today was quite historic. When you consider the background and the history of the church in the state of Missouri, and you look at it from that perspective, it was a very significant and historic day, considering the struggles that the early saints had in the state of Missouri. And I kind of looked just from my own personal perspective, sitting here in the state capitol building on the banks of the Missouri River, and thinking and reflecting upon here we are with the governor, Mike Parson, and actually having him make a proclamation for a religious day of freedom, and thinking how far we've come over the years from the early struggles, and thinking we've made significant progress, and it was a day of gratitude, a day of reflection, a day of perspective for all Latter-day Saints to think the progress that we've made in the state of Missouri.
The church has done extensive community outreach in the state of Missouri across the whole state. In 2023, there were over 100 donations to various organizations throughout the state, and we totaled up more than 3 million pounds of food delivered to help those in need. We also had donations that help organizations that work with people who are at the poverty level or below, and training them to earn a living wage, providing the wraparound services they need to be successful. And so we've donated to organizations that are very successful at doing that. We have done a number of things with Governor Parson to help him know what the church has done and to help organizations that he's fond of. Several years ago, we took him on a tour of the Bishop's Storehouse in the Independence area, and following that, he made an appearance at the Giving Machines. And so he saw in a very public way the good that we're doing, where 100% of the funds go to the charities. He has met us at various organizations where trucks of food have been delivered, and we've also contributed in generous ways to JAG Missouri, Jobs for America's Graduates in Missouri, to help students in high school who are at risk complete high school, be ready to enter the job force, or receive extra training so that they can earn a living wage. Yes, I think the humanitarian work that we do helps our elected leaders to see that the church is doing good and that we are doing good with no expectation of anything in return. We are truly trying to give in the way that Jesus Christ would give if he were here. So one of the responsibilities that I have as the communication director is to oversee the outreach to leaders of all kinds throughout our area. And working with our stake president at the time, we really had a desire to reach out to statewide leaders, including the governor. But we knew that there were other coordinating councils in the state. So there are 3 coordinating councils that have quite a few stakes in Missouri. And then there are actually 2 other coordinating councils that have small pieces of the state of Missouri. But we work primarily with the 3 main coordinating councils that include Kansas City or Missouri Independence, St. Louis, and Southwest Missouri. So we hatched a plan to start meeting together as communication directors with a priesthood leader and a couple of people in the state who were very well connected at the time. And this was probably, 2016, 2017, right in there. So it's been a number of years. We started out meeting in person quarterly and fairly quickly moved to meeting by video chat. And we started outreach to various people. One of the first that we had good luck meeting with was then Lieutenant Governor Parson. And we found out then that he was a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. And so eventually he became the governor, and we used that leverage and that, our relationship with Andy Reid as the head coach, who is also a member of the church, to arrange a dinner with Governor Parson and Andy and Tammy Reid, excuse me, and then a couple of priesthood leaders and their wives. And they spent about 3 hours in the governor's mansion for dinner and just had a great visit. The area president came. We really had a great visit with him. And from there, we've just continued to work on relationships through the state. In 2020, of course, COVID slowed things down a little bit, but we now have great relationships with several of the statewide leaders as a result.
There's a lot of relationships. So I have many relationships with elected officials. I have many relationships with lobbyists. I've cultivated those relationships over many years, and for this particular event that we put on, I was able to make a phone call to a lobbyist friend of mine who is very well known in the Capitol in Jefferson City, and he's a guy that is well respected. So when I'm able to ask him to do little things, like make, for instance, this appointment with Senator Rizzo, it was a very easy ask of him, and he appreciated that because it helps him look good with these elected officials as well as it helps us. And so through that relationship, we were able to make that happen.
Events like this are really important for us when we think about the first section of the Doctrine and Covenants. When there's a reference to the church being brought out of obscurity, this is one really significant way where the church is able to be brought out of obscurity. And we're here meeting with elected officials and legislators and understanding what is important to things they're focusing on. It gives us a chance to share what is important to members of the church and to the church. And we really do like building these relationships because it gives us contacts with people who are leading our communities.
Yeah, so the Stake Leaders Day at the Capitol we've been doing for, this is the 3rd year, and it's a day where stake presidents, other leaders, Stake Relief Society presidents from the different stakes throughout the church gather at the Capitol and have a series of interactions with elected officials. We are often successful in being able to meet with many of our statewide elected officials, be it the governor of the state, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and so forth. So we'll have interactions with them. Well, they'll talk about their responsibilities, and we have a chance to communicate to those elected officials what the church cares about, what our members care about, the kind of service that we're engaging in our communities. And so then as well, those same stake leaders are reaching out and connecting with their respective representatives and senators and having a very similar dialogue, talking about, again, the things that the members of each stake are focused on and their leadership care about. Often there's things that they talk about, like Just Serve initiatives, different ways of engaging with members who might be in need, or what kind of service is being done in the communities. Obviously, we care about our youth and what we can do to help them as a rising generation. So sometimes that enters the conversation, as well as several other things. So I'll add over the years, what you've seen happen as we've done this for a couple of years is some of those stake presidents or stake relief society presidents or communication directors have been back more than once, and so they're a little more comfortable with the process, and they start having a relationship with these elected officials, and not just here at the Capitol, but then they may actually engage with them back home, and that really was part of the goal, is to find ways to help the leaders of our religious community to be able to connect with these elected officials at home base, if you will. A big part of Governor Parson being able to, or wanting to be a part of our religious freedom efforts and today's Religious Freedom Proclamation is a relationship that we built with him and his office and the people who work with him, helping, trying as a people, as a faith, to really be available to help. As you know, when you think about where elected officials and a religious community, where they come together is when does the community need something? And leaders of the church, both on kind of a statewide effort and then those in different communities, have really tried to do our part in just being helpful in our community, and the governor's recognized that. And I think that's been helpful in him seeing that we are want to contribute to our community, and I think that puts on display for individuals the virtues of one's religious faith, knowing that sure, there's much of our religious faith is about our doctrine and our things that may be unique to us. In addition to that, it manifests itself in the way we engage in our communities. And so I think the governor I can't speak for him, but I think that's been part of how we've been able to have that relationship of trust. And we've just tried to demonstrate that we care about the idea of religious freedom, not just for us, but really for anyone of any religious community, that we believe that is going to be an important part of should be an important part of the public dialogue. And so I think he's friendly to that, and I think that we are excited about that opportunity. Hope that it'll bear fruit going forth in the future.
Well, first off, religious freedom is at the heart of being outward facing with the church right now, especially in the St. Louis area. And we are blessed over the last 4 or 5 years to be working with a handful of religions that historically have never talked to us. For example, Church of God in Christ is an organization of Black ex-Pentecostals. Working together, we have done amazing things in the community and created a bond that, when needed, we'll be able to go to legislatures and say we can't afford to have legislation passed or more erosion of human or of religious freedoms, which is taking place. The other group that we've worked with are Baptists, and both groups 5 years ago wouldn't have given us the time of day. So I think this idea of outward facing efforts to reach other Christian denominations in particular, but even non-Christian denominations, of which we're working closely with some Islamic groups and starting the work with some of our Jewish friends in the St. Louis area, has been phenomenal. I think you're seeing them. I think Andrew Felker and Dale Rodman have done, and yourself, Michael, have done a great thing in making the events approachable for all of the coordinating councils, the 3 in the state of Missouri. So there's been great communication, good meetings, well organized, and I think that's at the heart of it. And then having supportive state presidents. We have every state president here from our coordinating council except for one, and they're all supportive and they all wanted to be here. First off, that event makes an event like this tremendous, where you can rally other faiths, when you can rally our priest and sister relief society leaders to the Capitol. But for example, we just met with Representative Taylor from the inner city part of St. Louis, he stared at us and said, "I can't believe you did this." In fact, I wasn't even aware that organizations of different Christian organizations work together. I said, that is why it's so important to have a proclamation. They were really, really inspired by what happened today.
The purpose of having faith leader events with elected officials is not only for our faith in specific, but all faiths to participate in the process of government, and to not only be able to enhance the experience of members of faiths as they engage and they get understanding, empathy, and knowledge about the process and the issues at hand, but also those that are elected. They depend upon people of a wide variety and diversity of beliefs, understandings, faiths, organizations, communities, and so it's essential that that voice is heard. That voice of faith leaders, that voice of people that are committed to a community, to a country, to a state, to be able to speak to their representatives and speak to their specific representatives, but generally to all those that represent them, so that their not only voice can be heard, but their interests and concerns can be recognized in the legislative, the judicial, and the executive process. So it's absolutely essential for faith leaders to be involved in the political process. You know, as faith leaders, not only of our faith, but all faiths, engaged in the political process, they have a bit of a line to walk, particularly in our faith, in our church, about what is the right level of engagement so that we're maintain our political neutrality, but at the same time, we have an opportunity to share our faith, provide our views, give our feedback and information and concerns to legislators, executives, and so forth. In terms of the best ways to do that is to make sure that we're not espousing particular specific programs or objectives like legislative material, unless it's authorized by the First Presidency, the Quorum of the 12, to move forward with something that we are there just in a sense to espouse general principles, to teach and share those views. Particularly, you can't go wrong with expressing interests and concerns for religious freedom and faith-based efforts to build and strengthen a community. And so other things that we can do to make sure we don't cross that line is to make sure that for those that are in the campaign season, that we're not involved in the campaigning, to make sure that we express to those that we're working with that we are neutral in our political political parties and so forth. Certainly, we want members to engage in political parties, engage in the political process. But as a church, we have to make sure that we not only are not doing that, but also that we're encouraging people that they don't do that, and that they remain neutral. So it's in order to address the concern of maintaining political neutrality, we have to not only act that way, but we also have to speak that to those that we're visiting with, to members, as well as those that we are visiting in the executive or the legislative or the judicial branches. We need religious freedom events like today's signing of the proclamation recognizing Religious Freedom Day here in Missouri, because that kind of voice, that kind of emphasis on an important principle, an important doctrine, will inspire other people. We don't know the effect it can have on others, not only those that are participating, but those that hear about it, and those that recognize the spark of interest that this could play in their own lives, and to be able to spread that further and further. As we advocate for those principles with our legislatures, with our executives, with our judiciary, as we advocate for those principles, our hope is that they will be inspired by the Holy Spirit to recognize the importance of religious freedom in our society and protecting our freedoms, and in our communities, to build communities that are strong, that are diverse, that are vibrant. And so having an event like today's Religious Freedom Proclamation can help to inspire that, can help to organize it, and to set a pattern for others to look to and to follow.